Hey up there guys, how's it going? I've got another data share video for you today. So for anybody interested in the newly released Player 1 Uranus-C Pro and Player 1 Ares M Mono, this one is for you. I've taken some data on the Bubble Nebula just recently on my only clear night in recent memory, and I gave it as much as I possibly could with the express intent of providing it to you guys so that we can do this. We're basically going to do a process along for anybody interested in seeing how I'm going to process this data, admittedly in a bit of a hurried fashion, but all the same, I just want it to be as authentic and real for you as possible, as I believe that that's probably the best way that I can inform you about what I think about this camera. So I think it's wonderful, but I really want you guys to be able to make that decision for yourself if you think you want to purchase these or not. So that's what this is going to be all about. Let's dive straight into it really, as I'm going on way too long. In the description box down below, you're going to see a hosted file on my Google Drive. I just linked. Bubble Data Share is what it's going to be called. So you'll have to download that, unzip it, open it up, and there should be two subfolders, and also my PixInsight processing icons. Now you don't need those. Process however you like, whichever tools you want, as well as these are all just saved as fits. They're not saved in PixInsight's proprietary XISF files or anything like that. So you could process these in GIMP or Photoshop or Affinity Photo, anything you want. That's the whole idea behind this thing. But I'm going to be using PixInsight, so I'm just going to drag and drop those in. You can see they've popped up just there for me. If they don't do that, you'll need to right click and arrange all icons, get them to show. Now in terms of these two subfolders, I've also made subfolders for people of varying skill levels. So the originals are included, which are absolutely untouched. These are just stacked up frames ready to go for you to do whatever you want to. In the first folder, however, the ones with the suffix of LPC, in this case in the mono folder, they're already going to have the background extracted for you, as I know that not everybody's processing tools is capable of doing that. You can't do that kind of thing if you are processing in GIMP, for example, at least not to my knowledge. So you're probably going to download and use these to give you a better indication of what you can hope to get. I'm going to be using them, so I'm just going to drag and drop those in right now. You'll also note there's a text file with all the capture info in there for you too, telling you the gear I used, the camera, the filters, and how many exposures. So 46 2-minute HA, 25 2-minute oxygen 3, and 16 2-minute sulfur 2. That was the information for the mono data. Now the same thing has been done for the Uranus-C, the one-shot color data. I've got one file here which is got the suffix of LPC CBG crop. That one is probably the one that you want to open if you don't want to do all the cropping and background extraction yourself, which I don't want to do it again, so I'm just going to open that one. But if you want to take a look at the data in its absolute rawest form, there it is for you as well. As transparent as I possibly can make it for you. 52 2-minute shots, by the way, in terms of the color data. So I've got all of these open, ready to go. I'm just going to minimize the color. I'm going to process the monochrome stuff first. So let's process along. This is not going to be a quick video. I'm sure you've probably gathered that by now. But all the same, you might want to pause and get yourself a drink or something. So first of all, I'm going to click the HA. I want that to be the top left window. Click on Window, click Tile Windows. Got everything visible for me. So I'm going to now open up STF, screen transfer function, so I can just click these individually, click the little nuke icon, and take a look at the underlying data. As you can see, the background has been extracted. There's no weird gradients going on and stuff like that. So we can skip that step. If you're opening the other ones, you already know what to do. You're going to have to hit it with an ABE or a DBE, depending on the data. So one of the first things that we can notice, of course, is these big old stacking artifacts going along. Want rid of those, so dynamic crop on one of the windows. Drag it in from the corners, get rid of all those black bars. I'm being a little bit overzealous with it, but it is what it is. I'm in a rush. Drag the corner window over the two non-active windows, and then tick on the actually selected window, and now the same exact crop has been applied to all three windows for you. At this stage, I'm probably going to want to match all the views just for the sake of demonstration and start playing BlurXTerminator. Now, I've got all of Russell Chroma's tools. I love them to bits. I think they've transformed my processing completely, and not just my processing, but the amount of fun I have with astronomy has gone through the roof since getting these, as I'm starting to get the results that I feel like I should have been. Do you know what I mean? It's removed a lot of frustration. I do have affiliate links for these things, and if you want to use those, my word, it would be appreciated. And huge thanks to everybody who's already used those. By the way, you guys helped me out an absolute ton. I just wanted to put that out there. So I'm going to keep everything defaults, completely normal, and I'm going to drag and drop it onto all 3 of these images, and I'll get back to you. Alright then guys, so BlurXTerminator has just finished applying on the last image, so let's take a look at the results on this one. I'm going to zoom in the view a bit, so we're really taking a look close in now on the bubble and its nearby structures. And wow, especially this sulfur data, in my eye, has improved a huge amount if I just go back and forth. The amount of detail that's starting to pop up now on the little spire going into the core of the bubble, just it's absolutely phenomenal. The star shapes and sizes, excellent, no complaints whatsoever right there. On the oxygen tree, in terms of the nebulosity, it's mainly kind of this wispy stuff at the bottom that's been cleaned up a little bit by the deconvolution, but the stars themselves, again, beauty. It just does such a beautiful job. There's no way I can go back away from using this thing. And on the HA data, well, HA data always looks beautiful, but my word, with a bit of BXT applied, it's takes it into a new galaxy altogether. Dead impressed. Really, really, really dead impressed. Let's zoom in now on another tight crop. So perhaps somewhere here with a bit of background exposed, because the next step for me is another Russell Chroman tool, NoiseXTerminator. And we're going to apply now. This not at defaults. What I like to try and do is kind of eyeball the noise in the image a little bit. So in this case, it's just a bit of kind of salt and peppery noise, right, that you get with monochrome data. So about 0.75 is probably going to be enough, just at a guess. So I'm going to drag and drop it onto that sulfur. That's probably the worst offender, and we'll see what we get. All right, so it's just finished on the sulfur 2 data there, and once again, hopefully you can see this through YouTube's compression. If I zoom it right in, this is an unreasonable level of zoom. Okay, 5:1, but all the same, by undo and redo, you can hopefully see the difference that this tool is having in these background regions, especially. It's making that nebulosity that's kind of hidden in there so much more visible. Again, I just love them. There's no going back. I'm going to pop this on the other 2. So there we have it. That's finished now. The HA really didn't need much denoising at all, to be honest. It's pretty clean as far as the channels go. Got the most integration too. But all the same, it's a massive improvement all around. Now for me, the next step is going to be taking these into the non-linear phase of processing and kind of getting ready for combination. So to do that, I'm going to use my friend Bill's HT Stretch Unlinked tool. I'll just drag and drop that onto all 3 images. Reset those STF views on all 3. So now we've got some stretched, that is to say non-linear data, ready to be combined. Now, if I was taking more time on this and being super duper careful, I'd probably have used linear fit beforehand and matched everything to perhaps the sulfur. But it ain't that serious, you know what I mean? I'm just having some fun processing along with you guys and seeing what you think. So now LRGB combination. Before I do that, I'm going to give them slightly easier to use identifiers. So I'm going to call the H alpha data just H, sulfur S, and the oxygen just O. Open up LRGB combination. I don't need the L channel. In fact, we are just doing an RGB combination. And in the R, I'm going to put S. In the G channel, it's going to be H. And in the B, it's going to be O for that classic SHO palette, Hubble palette. Apply global and wait for that to process a moment. Alright, that's finished. looking pretty green, all things considered. So first step for me now is going to be SCNR on top of this thing. That's going to really take the edge off. All right, it's looking a lot better already. You'll probably notice that some of these background regions and stars especially have that classic SHO magenta hue to them. Now in my case, I'm going to use the script correct magenta stars, I do believe it's called. I'll just make this view ever so slightly bigger for you, as you're probably struggling to see. But anyway, script, utilities, and correct magenta stars. Just apply that, and that's all finished. You can see that magenta color completely gone. You can see, by the way, by going back through, this is how this tool actually works. It's just a case of inverting SCNR and re-inverting, and that is because green is kind of like the color opposite of magenta. So pretty cool tool. Now in terms of taking this up a notch, right, to the next level, I'm going to use another nifty trick that I came up with, the sacrificial cloning technique. So I've made myself a clone. This thing's going to get ravaged, but don't worry about it. We just need it for masks. I'm going to open up the curves transformation tool, and with my new clone selected, I'm going to make a preview. I'm going to hit it with some saturation. Not absolutely obscene levels, but just still some saturation has been applied there. I'm going to, in terms of RGBK, I'm going to bend it into a fairly severe S so that the nebula is cleanly defined from the background as much as I possibly can without clipping any of it. So it looks too extreme to use, and it normally would be, but we're going to go with it at that for a moment. And from this, now we've got two cleanly defined regions effectively. We've got a blue region and a yellow region. I'm going to try and take two masks. So I want a yellow mask from this, which looks pretty good to start with, and now a blue mask too, which ain't so bad itself. It's not perfect, as a lot of background regions are still kind of popping up a little bit blue, but we can work with that. I'm going to deliberately, you know, just leave it and show you how to correct that using histogram. So I'm going to select the blue mask a moment, open up histogram transformation. From the drop down, I want to actually be viewing it as well on the histogram view. Open up a preview, and I'm going to truncate the black point of the mask slightly. Dragging it across until all that background stuff's basically gone, but I'm leaving the meaty part around here alone. Now I'm going to boost up the midpoint just a bit. Nothing like ridiculous like this, just a touch so it's visible again. That's the effect that we've had. You can see, hopefully, what I'm going for. Now it's a really scratchy salt and peppery mask. So we're going to use mask blur on that in just a moment. I'm probably going to need to apply a small amount of truncation to that yellow mask too. But again, this is all just in the spirit of demonstration. So again, a small bit of the black point, little boost on the mids. Looks decent to me. Time for mask blur from my friend Bill once again. The sigma value, as you can see, is written instructions there. Increase it to add more blur. So I'm going to turn it up to 20 or so. Drag and drop it on. How does that look? Honestly, pretty good. It's gotten rid of all those, you know, croggly little areas effectively. It looks a lot more neat now. Same thing on that blue mask. Go ahead and close that down. So now we can close our sacrificial clone. We're done with it. It is sacrificed. I'm going to work on the main image once again. So this is image number 5 in this case. So I'm going to drag and drop that yellow mask just below the identifier window. Open up curves. Open up a preview with the correct window selected, Luke. And now I'm going to start with some saturation. A little bit, just so we can see what's going on. These regions in the middle that we masked, I'm just going to crop in a little bit on the view. I want to boost up the red tones in those. I want to bring those up. Start to become really visible. In fact, slightly overpowering red and copper. and cutting into these highlighted regions. So now I'm going to bring those highlighted regions back towards being yellows and golds by using some green. So up a little bit on the green midpoint, just a touch, and then back down around the shadows region of that green curves transformation line. You're going to see the lower that I drag it, the more of an effect it's having in these darker regions where that red meets the green, making these kind of tonal shifts. Around about there honestly looks pretty good to me. So you can see the effect that we're having. So we're going from this to this in just one set of histogram transformations. Really looks quite good, I would say. Reset the entire tool, and I think for a final little move, probably just a little bit more saturation in my case. I'll zoom back in, show you how that looks. So that's before, that's after, just a touch more vibrancy, you know what I mean? Brought it back to life, just that little bit. Alright, that's perfect. So I'm going to reset my curves. I'm kind of done with the yellow mask now, so I can just go ahead, close it, and that'll also remove it from my image. Now it's time to use the blue mask. Same thing, drop it on the image below. Select the image you want to work on, and create a preview. We'll crop in just a bit so we can see what we're actually doing, and start by boosting the saturation itself. That's pretty close, it's looking good already. I want to add a touch more mid on the blue, touch more mid on the green. You see, the further you take this, the more green you add, the more you're going to start to bias things towards going beyond a teal and more into an actual green. So you've got to be careful with that. But somewhere around about there looks really attractive to me. I like the look of that. So I'm going to apply that. And I think after resetting the tool, bringing in that view just once more, yeah, it can stand another little step of saturation too without going too far. So that looks, you know, pretty damn good, I'm going to say. I'm going to go ahead and close the blue mask right now. And I think start to adjust the black point on this thing as we finish up a little bit on this SHO image. So once again, histogram. Image 05. Open up the preview and just cut into some of this flat spot right behind the main histogram humps. Don't go too far, you know, and crush your blacks or anything like that as you start to lose details, and nothing really in space except from a black hole is truly black. So don't make your space backgrounds black. So that looks pretty darn good. You can see I just decided as well to add a very slight leftwards movement on the mid-tone adjustment. And I think for my money, that's completed SHO image. It looks great. Even if I do say so myself, there's some very fine noise. It's probably not showing up too well on YouTube, but I'll just drag it open a little bit all the same so you can see. Which I'd probably take out again with NoiseXTerminator. Just really weak. Somewhere around about 55, 56 or 60. Anything like that. Let's take a look. There you go. That's just really softened those kind of mottled pixels, if you like, into one another, and now the whole thing just looks that next step professional. You know what I mean? I really like the look of this. I think that's a wonderful image, and I'd be proud to actually send that anywhere, print it off, wherever you think. I like the look of it. Hope you like it too. Now, that's the hydrogen, sulfur, oxygen one, the true monochrome. We're going to close down all these mono files now and pick back up on the one-shot color. So this thing is mirrored because it's on the raster, so I'm going to flip it over, geometry and fast rotation, vertical mirror, get it back kind of like the right way around. And I think I'm going to start off with, this thing's already been cropped and background extracted. Again, if you use the original image, you'll need to do that yourselves. But with this, I'm probably ready to start off straight away with BlurXTerminator. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that, and we can take a look at the results together. So all defaults, let's just see what happens. Alright, so BlurXTerminator is finished. I'm super satisfied, as I always am with this tool. I know I bang on and on and on about it, but genuinely I think it's one of the things that's transformed astroimaging the most for me in recent memory. I mean, going from images that used to look like this, and there was nothing I could really do about it, because my skill with deconvolution is nowhere near that. You know what I mean? I can't get that kind of result. And yet, neural network can. It can figure it out better than the human mind and get you this kind of result in so little time. It's absolutely magic. Anyway, the next step is NoiseXTerminator. It's fairly noisy, so I'm probably going to leave this around about 7, 8, maybe 8.0 would also be fine. Let's see what it does. And that's finished, and I mean, what can I say? Crikey, the difference there is absolutely wild. Especially these background regions, once more. I'll just zoom right in. Undo, redo. I'm lost for words. Affiliate links down below is all I'll say. Yeah, seriously though, that's looking absolutely epic. Now this is still unstretched data, you see, if we just turn off the screen transformation. And before I take this into the non-linear phase, I'm going to split the thing up by using the RGB split tool there. So we've got an R, a G, and a B. I'm just going to minimize the main image. Open up these three using the tile window mode. Hit these with the STF so we can take a look at the data. So as you can see, we've got the three channels there. R, B, and G. I'm just going to rename these real quick so they've got shorter identifiers for use later on. G and B. And let's zoom in and take a look at the individual channels a moment. So here we've got a nice representation of the data in the image on the hydrogen. Let's copy that view across. And we can view for ourselves. So the red looks wonderful, super smooth. The green also looks great. The blue looks pretty good, but it's, as I've always found to be the case, noisy enough to be a problem. I don't really want to use this blue. So as I always kind of used to do in the past, I'm going to try it again. I'm going to just get rid of the blue and instead make a new blue channel by combining these two together. So before we go ahead and stretch these, I'm going to use pixel math. So processors, pixel math. Destination, create a new image. I want it to be called B, so I may as well just put it in there. And the combination is going to be, as always, R times 0.6 plus G times 0.4. And we've now got our new B, the new blue. Go ahead, stretch all of these a sec with screen stretch. Nothing looks wacky, it all looks great, so I'm happy now. I'm going to take these into the non-linear phase of processing, just using Bill's HT stretch unlinked in this case. So I'll drag and drop that onto all three images. Reset my STF view, as I don't need that for this anymore. Things are still looking great, so I'm happy to start combining these as well now. So LRGB combination once again. Don't need the L in this case. And the combination. Been a while since I've done this manually, but I seem to remember it's R goes in the R, blue goes into the green channel, and green goes into the blue channel. It's counterintuitive, but just bear with me. It should look kind of yellowish, which is actually what we're looking for. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Now, well, it looks awful right now, but as we said, we're going to process it and make it actually look correct in a moment. So I'm going to close down these other windows a sec, get them off the screen, get rid of some clutter, so we can focus on the task at hand, which is going to be making a new sacrificial clone. So once again, my cloned window, I'm going to open a preview, I'm going to hit this thing with a bit of saturation in this case. So that looks pretty good. So I'm going to hit with that amount of saturation. We've now got a cleanly separated yellow component. So I'm going to take that from this clone That's fine. We're going to work with that. Close the old clone down, make a fresh one from the main image. This time I'm going to focus on getting that blue brought out of the image. So I'm going to actually select the blue a moment. Bring up the mids. Drop the shadows a touch. Green. Bring up the mids. Drop the shadows a touch. Until we've got the main part of that blue selected just in the middle of the image. What I don't want is the background to be kind of awash in blue also, as it'll make getting a usable mask a real pain in the rear, to be honest. It needs some more of that blue taken away. A little bit more of that green taken away. And that is probably usable, I'm going to say, at that. I'm going to also apply an S-curve slightly to this. Get it more obvious. Much more saturation. I realise this looks horrendous, but it doesn't matter. It's just for a mask, like I say. That's applied. Go close down my preview and see if at this point I can get that blue mask that I'm looking for. And it seems that I can. That looks reasonably good. I could also go ahead and apply once again to that thing, and I've got a backup if I want one, perhaps. Try that blue mask once again. Close down the clone. And I should be able to make one of those two work, I would say. I'm going to close down the backup. And now, working on these two is going to be a case of blurring them out first. So again, give it a go around about 20. Let's take a look, see how it looks. Seems to be good. Normally, by the way, on a real processing job, I'd have taken the stars out at this point and I'd be processing these separately. But again, just for the sake of keeping this as quick as I can, I'm going to leave them in and we'll just take a look and see what we get. All the same. So that doesn't look too bad, guys. I'm going to go ahead and try and process the image with those. So back to the main image. Yellow mask first. Just drop that on. Curves. Small amount of saturation. So we can really see the part that we're working on. Boost to the reds, just like we did for the mono data. I'll zoom in on the core just a touch so you can really see what's going on, hopefully. Boost to the mids on that green, which is changing the whole thing towards yellow, which we talked about. So we bring down the shadow. You see, adding that kind of red colour back in at the same time. Stopping it from biasing too far to one or the other. So we've gone from this to this in one step. I'd say that's a really nice step in the right direction. It could probably take that second step, but it's a little bit further than I want to go. So I'm going to do it manually instead. Once again, draw a fresh preview in this case. Touch more red. Touch more green. And a little taken from the background. Not too much. And I think it could definitely stand more saturation. And that's probably right about there. That's about where I want it, I think, for that channel. So I'm done now with the yellow mask. Get rid of that thing. Blue mask time. Oops, accidentally make a clone of it. Yep, blue mask. Pop that on the image. Once again, let's crop in a little bit. Make sure we can see exactly what we're actually working on. Boost up the blues. A touch is hard to see, so we want some more saturation in there. Little bit of a touch into the green. Don't want to go too far with this, so I'm going to apply that. I'm now going to draw a new preview, and I may actually try on the RGBK the whole thing. Just pulling that back just a little bit. You can see the effect. I don't want to go too far, but alternatively, I don't want to end up doing this to the image also by just too much stretching. So just pulling it back tiny little bit. Now introduce some more blue once again. Some more green once again. And some more saturation. And we're now edging it closer to where I want it to be. It's not looking too shabby, this one. It's not looking too shabby at all. I think we're pretty close. maybe this could have benefited, I reckon, from the stars being taken out in this case for sure. But it is what it is. You know, it's just a quick process to do. I think we're going to add a little bit of an S-curve to the whole thing. Maybe not quite that strong, but around about there is looking reasonable. And yeah, probably going to call that one done around about there. So we ended up with an actual true SHO, which processed a little bit better this time. And then also the one-shot colour. Again, a quick effort. I think with a little bit more time, I'll probably have another go at that and see what I can actually pull out with a bit more time. And I'll put those on the screen at the end if I do have a go. And yeah, I'll show you what we got. But that's about it from me, guys. So I'm going to sign off there. As always, apologies for the length of that video, but I just figured some of you out there may appreciate seeing the whole thing actually just done effectively live, so you can process along, maybe learn a thing or two, and just take a look at the data in its rawest form and see what you think. That's what it's all really about. So, as always, thanks very much indeed for watching, giving your time, giving your support. I really, really, really do appreciate it. So, that's about it. I will see you all in the next one anyway, guys. Look after yourselves and those around you. Thanks, guys.